welcome to episode numero 4 of Real&Raw Conversations with Shalina. And tonight I am talking about fatherless homes. But before I begin, an acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture, the hopes and dreams of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander peoples and elders, past, present and emerging. For it is their land on which I work, live, love and conduct business. And it is their continuing connection to land, water, sea, and community that I will always recognize and uphold. I am committed to and will continue to celebrate, honor, and respect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's stories, culture, and traditions, as well as their unique cultural and spiritual relationships to country. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and forever will be Aboriginal land. Now, it is estimated that more than 20 million children worldwide live in homes without the physical presence of their fathers. And that's equivalent to almost the entire population of Australia. Millions more have dads who are physically present in the same house, but emotionally absent. If fatherlessness was classified as a pandemic or a disease, then let me tell you that this is an epidemic that is worthy of attention. It is a worldwide emergency. That is what fatherlessness is. And you know, every child deserves to have both their parents in their lives. Parents who are loving and caring and supportive and responsible, you know, a positive guiding force in their life. It's a basic human right. It's an entitlement. Yet somehow, unfortunately, this just remains some sort of a privilege. You know, it's a privilege that not everybody seems to have. You know, having a father is not as common as what it should be. And I think that's the problem. And, you know, some people are so lucky, they don't have to feel another person's pain. And sometimes if you can't understand why a person is grieving so much and for so long, then maybe you're the one who's fortunate that you don't have to understand or feel the pain. Because grief is not just when a person passes away. Grief is the absence of someone or something, and it takes many forms. So today I'm talking about fatherlessness, and each type of fatherlessness, it has a different impact on children. And collectively, yes, it's a loss, but you know, when a parent isn't around, it is a loss. Obviously, it's a loss, but each loss is of a different kind, and it has different feelings and attitudes and consequences that is once again different for each individual. So I'm going to be talking about fatherless homes over the course of the next few shows. In this episode only, I'm talking about the types of fatherlessness, and how, you know, it's not always a father's fault that he's absent, but sometimes it is completely his fault that he is absent. And in the next episode, I'm probably going to be talking about the effects that it has on children. So effects meaning the effects that it has on career, on work, on relationships, on spirituality, on your connections with people, how you view the world. There are so many effects to fatherlessness that people just don't talk about, that I feel it needs to be addressed. And that's what I aim to do. The episode after that, I'm actually going to talk about my personal story of when I went to meet my dad when I was 24. And he did not reach out to me. I had to go and find him. And so I'm going to talk to you about, you know, if you are somebody who has never met your dad and you want to go and meet him, or you are somebody whose father has reached out to them and you're not sure what to do, you're not sure how to feel, or if you're a parent who's in this situation, I'm going to share my experience with you and my advice. Whether you take that advice or not is totally your prerogative. I'm not telling you what to do at all. And in the last part of this, not today's episode, in a few episodes to come, I'm actually going to talk to you about what not to say to somebody who has been abandoned. And the reason I'm only talking about abandonment here is because I was a abandoned fatherless daughter. And that's the only pain I know. You know, I'm not going to sit here and try and claim to know that what it feels like to have my father pass away. I don't know that pain because I had a dad. He just wasn't there. And if you're wondering why I'm only talking about fatherlessness and not motherlessness, it's because my mom was always around. She did not abandon me. It was my father who did that. So I can't claim to know what it feels like to not have a mother because my mom loved me. But let me tell you that my father choosing not to be around in my life, it left me with so much anger and resentment and hatred. And I was overcome with grief. But if you could read my thought process, like if you could have read my mind, you wouldn't even want to be there, because if you could have read my mind, you would probably be in tears. And that's the truth. So, not having a dad means that your self-worth and your self-love is compromised so many times in so many ways because of his absence. And that's what happened to me. Now, if my father had passed away in a car accident, yes, I would be angry, but I would be overcome with sadness and grief. But my father is very much alive and I resent him. So one shoe does not fit everybody. So if a person says they're fatherless, depending on what made them fatherless, that's how they're going to feel. There are so many different emotions. It's collectively, yes, it is a loss, but there are so many different emotions attached to it, So let's get on with it, and let me talk to you about the types of fatherlessness. So type number 1 is the emotionally absent father. This is one of the most prominent types of fatherlessness. Millions and millions of children live with this. And it's not just children, it's adults. It's however long you live with your parents, you are living with this type of parent. An emotionally absent parent is one who is physically present but emotionally disconnected. So you cannot seem to have a connection with this person. There's a sense of disconnect and detachment. It results in pretty much, the children get no real guidance from this type of parent, and children end up suppressing their emotions and not developing a bond with their fathers. Emotionally absent parents, they lack, or they seem to lack, empathy, or they are emotionally immature, or they, in turn, this creates toxic relationships with their kids and people around them. They automatically discipline a child instead of using empathy and understanding. And, it could be toxic masculinity that, prevents him from being in touch with his own emotions. Maybe it's the culture and the way he was brought up, or he just seems to have an inability to express himself. These are the emotionally absent fathers. Sometimes they only feel like they're only there to contribute to the family when they feel necessary, like financially. Go figure. Sometimes they do not engage in conversations, or they fail to recognize when the child wants their attention for whatever reason. It's the job of the parent to recognize what the child needs, not vice versa. So emotionally absent fathers, they find looking after their children a bit of a chore. They think it's not really their job to do that because the mother's supposed to do that, or they simply just did not want the child. And it's okay not to want children, but now that you have them, I don't know. What do you think you're supposed to do? Sometimes emotionally absent parents, they favor one child over the other. I don't know why they do this. I don't know why you don't love 2 children, 3 children, 10 children equally, but yes, it is possible to do that. They are also emotionally unavailable if they are abusive or unstable, or if they have mental health issues. Some of these dads who are emotionally absent, they almost feel like just merely existing is all they needed to do. like merely existing around the house contributed to the child's well-being and development. Like, yeah, go figure. And it is so sad to see this. A father who could be so much more but is so little. And it's almost as if they exist visually, but that's it. There's no positive guiding force there. That's not cool. Now, all of this does not mean that your father does not love you, but it is hard to not feel unwanted or unloved when the person who's supposed to make an effort makes no effort, or you feel like they're making no effort. They keep their thoughts inside of them, and you never seem to get to know truly who this person is. Like you don't seem to know who your father is, and that's a bit confusing too sometimes. And it's sad. It's a loss. And that is fatherlessness. It's confusing. Do you love me? Do you want me? Did I make you mad? What's going on? And you can't ever tell because they never speak. Also, an emotionally absent father is one who does not make conversation with their child. They don't try to understand the child. They don't even know what the child's interests are, and they don't take them out. You are missing out on a relationship if that's the type of parent that you are. And your child is the one who suffers at the end. So that's a bit of an overview of what an emotionally absent father is like. And I'm sure there are many more aspects to this, but these are the ones that I wanted to highlight as to what it means to be an absent father. Now, the next one is the physically absent father. Now, they could be there emotionally. They could be around emotionally, but it's not the same as being present. It's like a long distance relationship. And it's hard to maintain that if there is no effort from both sides. Now, absent physically can also mean that they're in the military, they are deployed, they work in another country or another state. Maybe he doesn't come home enough, or he makes promises that he can't keep. Physically absent fathers, they work long hours and they come home and they might still be detached from the children for whatever reason. And, you know, these are the fathers who they don't make it to sports games or graduations or birthdays. And once again, having a physically absent father results in feelings of disconnect and feelings of abandonment. And you wish that he loved you enough to make the effort to be there, but he doesn't. And when there is an absence, especially when it's physically as well, there's no bond being made. And it's hard. That doesn't mean that, you know, the father always chooses to be physically absent. No, but there are the ones that choose to be like that, and they don't really pay too much attention to the children at home. And I find that very sad. I mean, also, you know, maybe once again, the father did not want the child, and maybe the partner or the wife did. So now they're putting up with it. And I know that sounds horrible, but there are parents who literally just put up with a child because the child just happens to exist now. Number 3 is the deceased father. Now, obviously, this is self-explanatory. This is beyond control. You know, you can't control these things: disease, murder, accident, suicide. Or this is the father who might be missing or held captive and you actually don't know where they are. There are cases where that happens, and that's really scary. But every different type of death, that also has a different emotion attached to them. And every individual who has faced the death of a parent, of a father, the type of death is the way in which that they need to be dealt with, because a father being murdered is going to hold so much more anger than a father who died in an accident. And once again, that shapes the way that you interact with the person suffering, as in the child suffering, interacts in the community and with other people. So it's very important to be mindful of how you interact with somebody who has lost a parent, or like me, has been abandoned. You know, and the generic one-liners, they don't work with us. So number 4 is, of course, the divorced father. Now, this is the father who stops communication with the wife or the ex-wife after the kids after the divorce. Sometimes the ex-wife stops him from seeing the kids. Sometimes she manipulates the kids from not seeing him. Sometimes she gives the father minimal time with the kids. Sometimes the father breaks custody orders or AVOs. Break an AVO, you're going to end up in a jail cell. There are cases where the father has waited until the child was old enough legally to make their own decisions so that the ex-wife wouldn't interfere. They don't have to go through legal means, or the ex-wife, in order to see their own child, because it is true, there are ex-wives who make it so difficult for fathers to see their children. And that is not right. That is absolutely not right. Sometimes the ex-partner has a wife. The ex-wife has a new partner who prevents the children from seeing their real dad. And that happens as well. So there's many reasons why during or after a divorce that children are left without a father, or left with minimal time with the father, which still feels like fatherlessness. Until you have a dad around you at all costs, at all times, it feels like a loss. The next type is the remarried father. This is the father who remarries and has another kid. Exhibit A over here, my father did that one, and forgets the previous family, or acts like the previous family does not exist, since it seems to be so very easy to do that. It also happens, fatherlessness also happens when the new partner or new girlfriend, new wife, don't necessarily have to be remarried, but you're in a new relationship, stops him from seeing his kids. I'm not sure how a girlfriend or a wife has the ability to make a father stop seeing his kids. I do partially blame the father for this one, but once again, I don't know the behind the scenes here, but they do stop the fathers from seeing the children, and I've seen that many times, and I find that really, I find that disgusting. Not getting along with your step siblings is also a reason why you may end up fatherless, because you end up spending less and less time at your father's new house with his new family, and it might be so hard to bond with them and get along with them, or you're just not accepting of it, and that is perfectly fine. You don't need to accept your father's new family. I'd find it difficult to if I had to. And, you end up spending less and less time, or eventually you just stop going and you stop giving a crap. Or maybe he stops inviting you over. It's so difficult when it comes to remarriages, because you feel like the father has, in essence, started a whole new world while you're left to pick up the pieces. And that is a very, very difficult thing to try and comprehend and accept. Not that you need to accept that. Now, number 6 is the cheating father. Now, this is the father who cheats on his wife, and the children also feel as though the father cheated on them as well, because a marriage is supposed to be a union for life. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and that is cool. But instead of cheating, you can just leave a relationship, right? 2 happy homes are better than 1 destructive home. But sometimes this father will move out of his current home and into the home of the one he was cheating with, or he once again will be stopped by his ex-wife or ex-partner from seeing his kids because she is so hurt from what he has done. Or the kids stop seeing him because they are hurt because he betrayed them. And cheating has so many long-lasting effects on children when they see that. Infidelity, feelings of not being good enough. Children start feeling that too. It's not just the ex-partners. Children also feel like, why did you have to do that? And that causes anger and rage. And that in turn means that the kids may not even want to see you. So, this is the other type of fatherlessness. Now, the next one is, and this might sound, it might sound a little far-fetched, but hear me out. This is the secret father. Now, this is the father who has another family that he has in another country or in another place, in another place in the same country, who he just never seemed to have spoken about for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know why. Excuse me, very thirsty. And this happens. Like, this is not a TV show where it only happens in, like Home and Away or something. No, this happens in real life. And there have been so many cases of secret families, long lost brothers, long lost sisters coming through and being like, hey, like, you're my dad too. Or the partners, the fathers, they up and leave. And you wouldn't have even thought for a second that they had a secret family. And it is possible. It is possible. Now, can I just say that as a mother, to stop your kids from seeing their father for no good reason at all, that is reprehensible. If he is a danger to himself and to the children and to you, I get that. But if there is really no reason at all to stop him from seeing the children, apart from you maybe wanting to destroy him or get some sort of revenge, you are far from a good mother if you do that. You are damaging your children, and they will despise you one day, because a mother should not be the cause of fatherlessness. And unfortunately, sometimes mothers are the causes of this. And it happens so often. Bitter custody battles, fathers wanting to see their children and they can't. Fathers end up giving up and the children feel like the fathers don't love them. But really, it is the ex-wife's doing. And I wanted to acknowledge that because I'm not playing the gender card here to say that women are always right and men are not. That is not true. Obviously, this show, what I am talking about is fatherlessness because in my case, yes, my father did do wrong. That doesn't mean that, well, all fathers are like that, and I know that. So the next type of father is the addicted father. Now, obviously, this is self-explanatory. Drugs, alcohol, strippers, sex, gambling. I've seen this happen. And, the father's own disinhibiting behaviors, they seem to take precedence over the importance of the child. And addictions, as you would know, they lead to death, to bankruptcy, to hospitalization, to being unavailable emotionally and physically. Addictions also, it plays a role in the way that the child grows up because they seem to wonder, well, what got my dad so addicted? And they start trying the drugs themselves because they want to know what it felt like and why he couldn't give it up. So addictions is another reason why children end up being without fathers. And it is so prevalent. It is so prevalent. And children who grow up in homes where, they see the fathers drink every night, I know that a lot of them, they stop drinking. They don't even want to touch alcohol because they've seen the effects. You almost feel like the father is there physically, but emotionally they are so absent, even if they are there. And that is fatherlessness, having a father there, but not emotionally. That is hard. That is so hard. And you take it out on yourself. Well, why couldn't my father stop drinking for me? And my fatherless brothers and sisters, it is not your fault that your father could not stop drinking or doing drugs or whatever it was he was doing. It's not on you. That is his choice. So I hope you are not blaming yourself, that you did not cause this. Now, number 9 hits home because this is the purposely absent father. This is the father who is the epitome of parental alienation. And this is the father who just does not want to be in their child's life. I don't think there is any real good reason for not being in your child's life. And, these are the fathers who, they don't want to pay child support. Exhibit A over here, that was another thing my dad did. They are simply not bothered to take on the responsibilities. They either weren't ready for the role, they got cold feet and they got out of there. Or maybe he doesn't see the child because he never wanted the child and therefore doesn't feel like he has a responsibility towards the child. So because they didn't want the child, in their minds, it's like, well, okay, I didn't want a kid, so you decided to have it, so I don't want nothing to do with it. And it happens. And it is so sad. They literally do not care about the child. And I know that sometimes sounds far-fetched. How can a parent not care about their child? Well, all you have to do is watch the news. How many parents are killing their children? Men and women. I'm not discriminating on gender here, but how many? There are so many. So it is absolutely possible to have a father who literally just does not give a shit about you. And I'm one of those people because that's what my father did. Now, the next one is also, it hits home, but this happens a lot. I've seen this happen in the Indian community a lot as well. This is the selfish father. So this is the father who has children, but for selfish reasons. Exhibit A, for visa. And it happened. And my dad purposely got my mum pregnant with me because he wanted his visa. It's easier to get your visa that way, to show the immigration that you are going to be a father. Very easy, very, very logical plan, isn't it? Just ruin a child's life, but that's what they do. So, these are the fathers who, yes, they do impregnate a woman, but they have no intention of being around. There wasn't even the plan at all. And because that's what my dad did. And I sometimes feel like I'm here for the wrong reasons and I'm left to make it right. And I hate that feeling, but sometimes it's true. And side note, purposely doing this or controlling a woman's reproductive system, that is actually called reproductive abuse and coercion. It's a thing. It is a form of domestic violence, and it is illegal. It is illegal. So ladies, if you feel as though this has happened to you, just know that this is wrong. It is called reproductive abuse. It is a form of coercion. It is also a form of sexual assault. It is also a form of psychological abuse, and it is illegal. So seek help if you need to. I will put some numbers up on the screen later. But yes, so these are the selfish fathers who the ends justify the means for them, even if that means they hurt a little innocent baby. Does not matter as long as they got what they want. And my father sure as hell got what he wanted. So the next one is the low self-esteem father. Now, these are the fathers who they think they can't or they won't be good fathers, and they truly believe that the child is better off without them. They abandon their children thinking that they have done the right thing. So, in other words, they have abandoned the child for the greater good. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. That does not mean it's right. And usually this is a result of their past traumas. They're scared of fatherhood, or reality sinks in and they leave and they're like, holy shit, this is not what I thought fatherhood is going to be. And they genuinely believe that they're going to mess up as a parent. Sometimes when you question your abilities as a parent, sometimes it means that you're going to make a good parent, because you're sitting there wondering if you're going to be a good parent. And that itself shows that you want to do the right thing. But fear, low self-worth, past traumas, being abandoned themselves, there are so many reasons why men will have fear and they will shun away from their duties as a father. I'm not justifying that. I'm not saying if that's right or wrong, but I'm just telling you maybe why there are some men who do that. Now, number 12 is justified alienation. So even though they're justified to not be in the child's life, it does not mean that the child does not feel it. It does not mean that it's okay. And it does not mean that the child is not going to miss having a father figure. So justified alienation can be if the father was abusive, sexually, emotionally, psychologically, they were addicted, they were any of the above that I just read out to you. There were that. Father is incarcerated, they're hospitalized, that is justified. How they got there, I'm not even talking about that. But the fact that they are, there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing that he can do about it either. But sometimes there are fathers who don't actually know they have children, and the ex-wife or the ex-partner has kept it from him and he didn't know. That's not his fault. Maybe the mother doesn't know who the father of the child is, or it was a one-night stand. Well, a father's not going to know, are they? How can they be expected to know? I've got Raylene telling me, you know what you're talking about, Shalina, as you have lived this life. Thank you, Raylene. Thank you so much. And we've got Tonya saying very true. Thank you. Thank you for watching. So you've got these fathers who maybe the mother didn't tell the child who the real dad is, and they're never going to know who their father is. And that's another reason why it's justified, because it's not the child's fault, nor is it the father's fault here. Sometimes there are family members who threaten to kill the father or harm him if they come near the family. And in that case, once again, that is justified. You don't want to put yourself in harm. You want to be safe so that maybe one day you can see your children in future. I Other times it's when the ex-partner or the ex-wife has brainwashed the children into not wanting to see the father. And, you can go through as many court processes as you want. You can take all the legal avenues necessary and possible. But at the end of the day, if they have been manipulated and brainwashed, and if you're not around, I'm talking about the fathers right now, if the fathers are not around to change that, if they have no access, how are they supposed to be in the child's life when the child's been brainwashed? And that is, once again, mothers who are making their child's fatherless. And that is reprehensible. It absolutely is. Now, and there are some times where, as I said, the fathers don't know that they had a child. And I understand the child's so angry, like, how did you not know that I existed? Well, you don't know what you don't know. It's the mother who's going to know this, right? It's not always that the dad knows this. So these are the things that I think are justified. That doesn't mean that it is okay or that it's not okay. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that Jay is saying, well, a lot of fathers need to step up. A bit of work being a good dad. Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I really do. Talking about this hits home because my father never stepped up. He stepped up to his new family and his new wife and daughter, just not with me. And that really, it really frustrates me. So yes, absolutely. Fathers do need to step up. Now, the last one, well, I'm sure there are more than this, but I've got a list of 13. I love the number 13, so I'm just going to stick to it. I'm sure there are more reasons for fatherlessness. The last one is the religious dad. Now, there are fathers who have left their children and their families for religious reasons, going on a spiritual journey. I don't know how you can put together fatherlessness, like being a good father, and religion. Like, how are you religious and like leaving your kids? I don't understand that. It is so paradoxical and hypocritical, like an oxymoron, but yes, it happens. There are the fathers who force religion on their kids. I know you think you're doing the right thing here, but that is spiritual abuse. Yes, that's what that is. When you are forcing a religion on a child, that is spiritual abuse. And when you do that, your children are the ones who feel disconnected from you, or they feel like you're forcing them into it, and they end up resenting you. Sometimes they'll follow the path unbeknownst of the actual realities of religion, but a lot of the times they'll follow blindly, or they feel forced into it. Another type of the religious dad being fatherlessness is when the father is so consumed by his religion that he forgets his child's needs and wants. And I don't understand how you can get so consumed into something that is only man-made, yet it happens. But the children suffer because this overly religious, spiritual father thinks that he is right, his religion is right, and he can't see past it. This results in the father being possibly present, but religiously abusive, emotionally abusive, maybe even physically abusive if the children do not do as the father wants. That is a form of fatherlessness because you don't have the father in the ways that you need. And also, radical but true, there are religious people who are so religious, they do not see science and medicine. They see religion first, science and medicine later, which results in children not seeking appropriate treatment for sicknesses. Because the fathers, or the parents, I'm not going to just blame fathers here. There are mothers and fathers both who do this, who think that praying to the almighty higher universe is suddenly going to cure you of everything, when really you need to see a doctor. That is absenteeism right there. That is you being absent as a father and being ridiculous in putting your belief system before the child. That is not right. That is absolutely not right. Now, I'm sure that there are many more reasons for fatherlessness, but these are my top 13 reasons. If I have missed anything out, please tell me, and I'm going to put that in the next episode. I was putting these, I put these ones not in any order of priority or anything like that. It's just anybody who has faced any of these things, I want you to feel, I hope that you feel validated, because there are so many reasons why fathers don't exist. Every single reason here that I just read to you has a different emotion and feeling attached. It is, yes, collectively it feels the same, but there are still so many different feelings attached. And excuse me one second. So much to say, not enough time to drink water. I want to say that blood is not thicker than water. And I learned that the hard way, the sad way, the soul-crushing way, through my father not being around. Because in my mind, I would think that a parent is supposed to love their child, and that's not true. It does not happen. Some people are raised in a way and they are told to thank the Lord and the universe and the heavens above that they have parents. I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely okay to cut off a toxic parent anytime you like, a toxic sibling, a toxic child, a toxic parent. It is okay to cut them off if you need to, because I've finally seen that you are not bound by blood. Sometimes your friends, they make better family members than your own blood do. And after all, it's just blood. So whether it's family or friends, we all bleed the same color. So if you need to cut somebody off, don't regret it. Dazzling Beauty Studio says, it's so sad, but absolutely true. Yes, the saddest part is the truth in it. I find it sad too. I find it sad that I even have to say it, yet, here I am hopefully telling you the realities of things. If you are a fatherless child through no fault of your own, I hope you don't blame him for his absence, because his choices are a reflection of his character. And yes, he may have unresolved trauma, but once again, that's on him. That's not on you. You can't fix that. I have trauma, but somebody else can't come and fix it for me. I need to do it myself. And if you think maybe your mother is purposely keeping you away from him, open your eyes, see what's going on around you. Speak to somebody if you need to. If you need to call the kids helpline, if you need to call Beyond Blue, 1-800-RESPECT. These are numbers you can call to talk to somebody confidentially, and they can give you advice on what you can do. And to anybody else who's watching, when you deal with somebody who doesn't have a dad, you need to deal with them through the lens from which they view the world, not through your opinions, because your opinions don't matter right now. You need to move away from your world, get into our world, and try and understand how we feel without giving us unsolicited advice when it's not necessary. Unsolicited advice meaning, oh, I'm sure he loves you, or I'm sure he thinks about you, or it's going to be okay. Or have you thought about forgiving and moving on and letting go? Don't say those things. It makes things worse, not better. And lastly, I'm never going to tell anybody ever that you need to forgive and move on. And I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. In my mind, I feel like forgiveness is a form of spiritual bypass. And you don't need to forgive to be a good person. You do not need to forgive to be a good person. You do not need to move on and let go, because your trauma and your emotions and your pain from being a fatherless child, that always was, that always is, and always will be valid, no matter what another person's trying to make you feel. So, because I've had my sanity questioned many times and I've absolutely hated it. And I finally come to the conclusion that I don't need to forgive my dad. But when I talk about these things, I have turned my pain into purpose, which is why I'm doing this show. It is hurting me to speak about it, but I need to speak about fatherless homes, because some of you men really need to step the freak up. Honestly, you do. 20 million children, more than 20 million children are without fathers in this world. The fathers are well and truly alive. They're just not present in the child's life. Step your game up. Thank you for joining me. I know this was an emotional episode. If you need to speak to somebody, if you are feeling like, you feel alone, or I've triggered you somehow, I'm sorry if I have. It wasn't to trigger you, but these are some national helplines you can call. Any of the numbers on this screen, you can call them anytime you like and speak to somebody about it. Next episode, I am going to be talking about the actual effects that fatherlessness has. So that's on, career, your relationships, your work, spirituality. The effects of fatherlessness are so detrimental, and they need to be spoken about. And I'm here to have those real and raw conversations, as I always will be. So thank you for joining me, and bye for now. I hope you have a good night. And if there's anything you want to talk about, you can send me a personal message and we can have a chat in private. I am absolutely never, ever hard to find. So I will see you in the next episode of Real and Raw Conversations with Shalina. So bye for now. I will see you